For a moment, imagine forgetting everything you know. Wipe science, technology, cause and effect from your mind. You are in the 7th century BC. That lightning bolt tearing through the sky isn't an electrical discharge. It is the wrath of Zeus. The storm raging at sea isn't caused by atmospheric pressure. It is Poseidon's revenge. Even the changing of the seasons has nothing to do with the earth's tilt. It is the goddess Demeter mourning for her lost daughter. For thousands of years, humanity lived inside these stories, in a dream world we call mythos. Nature was a theater stage for capricious gods. It was unknowable, it was unmeasurable, and most importantly, it felt like nothing but fear. Until, on the coast of Anatolia, in a port city, one man looked up and said, "No, this is not a story. This is a system." In that moment, the age of fear ended, and the age of reason, the age of logos, began. But this revolution didn't start with a sword or with blood. It began with a small boy asking the one dangerous question no one dared to ask. Late 7th century BC, Miletus. This wasn't just an ordinary city. It was the Silicon Valley of the ancient world. The ancient wisdom of the East and the young curiosity of the West collided right here in this harbor. Phoenician sailors brought their alphabets, Egyptian merchants brought their geometry, and Babylonian priests brought star maps thousands of years old. The air didn't just smell of salt and spice, it smelled of new ideas. But in the middle of this crowd, there was a child with a different kind of mind. Thales. His family likely came from a line of noble merchants. Like every young man in Miletus, he was expected to command ships and multiply his fortune. But stories say Thales loved silence more than the crowded marketplaces. People couldn't make sense of him, just like the famous story Plato would tell centuries later. He was the kind of person who would fall into a well while gazing at the stars, only to be mocked for it. Before the people called him a sage, they probably called him a dreamer, the boy with his head in the clouds. But he wasn't interested in the gold on the ground. He was interested in the secrets of the sky. While everyone else looked up and saw gods, he saw something else. In what adults called fate, he noticed a glitch. While others told legends in the temples, he asked questions. How does Zeus decide where to throw his lightning? Why are the gods so angry? Do natural events really depend on their mood? Or do the sunrise and the rain operate on a mechanism independent of the gods, consistent within itself? The adults would smile at these questions. The questions were dangerous, but he was just a child. For now, in his youth, he visited the temples of Miletus. He watched the rituals. He saw the fear etched onto people's faces. When an earthquake struck, everyone prayed to Poseidon, offering sacrifices. But after the quake, Thales bent down and touched the ground. The earth had cracked, but there was no trace of a god. There was only matter. The doubt he felt in that moment was no different than murder in those times. Because if the thought growing in Thales' mind was true, it would prove that every temple built, every epic told, and every curse feared up to that day was empty. We don't know exactly what he felt, but we can guess. Imagine when your entire city, your family, the whole world believes in one thing. Could you stand alone and say, "No, you are wrong"? This didn't just require intelligence. It required immense courage, perhaps even madness. Am I the mad one? Is the first test of every genius. What if the gods really exist and punish me for this arrogance? But Thales surrendered to his curiosity, not his fear. Miletus lived by the sea, and Thales loved to watch the sea. The waves looked random, but they weren't. There were tides. The wind changed direction, but not without cause. There was a pattern, and if there was a pattern, there had to be an explanation. The first fracture happened here. If the universe wasn't chaos, it had to be understandable. Thales had found the thread, but he couldn't untangle the knot in Miletus. To find the answer, he had to go to the most mysterious structures on Earth, to the heart of mathematics, to Egypt. It is told that he went to Egypt as a young man. On the banks of the Nile, in the shadow of the colossal pyramids, he watched the priests. The Egyptians were master builders, but they guarded their knowledge. Thales, however, was chasing that knowledge. Legend has it, he stood before the Great Pyramid. The priests told him he could never know the height of this massive structure, because climbing to the top was impossible. Thales smiled. He didn't need to climb. He simply planted a staff in the sand, and he waited. The sun moved across the sky. Thales waited for that golden moment when the shadow of the staff was equal to the length of the staff itself. His logic was simple, yet earth-shattering. If my shadow equals my height, the pyramid's shadow must equal its height. He simply measured the shadow, and in seconds he solved a secret the pharaohs had kept for centuries. A structure could be measured without touching it. This meant nature could be measured. This meant the language of the universe wasn't hieroglyphs, it was geometry. In that moment, Thales didn't just solve a math problem. He proved that the universe itself could be solved. The boy who was mocked as a dreamer for years became a giant that day in the Egyptian desert. He was no longer just an observer. He was the first candidate for scientist in human history. That night, sitting by the Nile, a sentence formed in his mind. Nature is not a story, it is a system. This was the beginning of the end for mythology. But Thales was just at the beginning of his journey. He had a method, but he had no proof. Now he would return to Miletus to tell people something impossible, that the will of the gods could be calculated. But how would he prove it to them? Not with words. To turn the sky, which the people of Miletus thought was divine, into a simple calendar, he would have to darken the sun. Thales' victory against the whole world, and history's first scientific prophecy. The story will continue, right here, in the next episode. To catch the continuation and to watch from the front row as the sun goes dark, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Now, if you had lived in that era, would you have believed Thales? Or would you have dismissed him as a madman? I'm waiting for your thoughts in the comments. As always, take care of yourselves. May light illuminate your path.